home from the asylum every night, and he had a girlfriend named Rusty. Dusty and Rusty, they both dressed in white, and she was this much taller than.
Calm, disciplined, respected. That's how Hollywood painted Robert Duvall for more than 50 years. A man who didn't talk much, but when he did, people listened. He carried that quiet power that made even the loudest actors take a step back. But now, at 94, the silence shattered. Duvall finally spoke out, and what he said sent shockwaves through the industry. He named 6 men, not enemies, not rivals, but people he once called family, his idol, his brother, even his teacher. And the wild part, every single one of them was a Hollywood legend. Stick around, because once you hear who made his personal blacklist, you'll understand why this revelation rocked everything. Number 1, Al Pacino. In the 1970s, nobody could touch the brotherhood between Robert Duvall and Al Pacino. They weren't just co-stars, they were brothers. 2 hungry dreamers hustling in Beverly Glen, sharing rent, canned soup, and dreams of stardom. But when The Godfather Part 3 came along, that bond went ice cold. Paramount sent the contracts, and the paychecks told the truth. Pacino, $5 million plus 5% of the profits. Duvall, a flat $1 million, no extras, no respect. The message was loud and clear. One star mattered more. Duvall didn't yell or argue. He just folded the papers, stood up, and walked out. A few hours later, Francis Ford Coppola got a fax with just one brutal line: "I won't return just to be someone's backdrop." Boom. That one sentence ended 20 years of brotherhood in seconds. After that, Duvall disappeared to his Virginia farm, chasing roles that felt real, honest, uncorrupted. Meanwhile, Pacino rose even higher, a walking symbol of ambition and chaos, larger than life, untouchable. When the studio tried to fix things, Duvall refused. Pacino wouldn't budge on his paycheck either. Years later, Duvall told a reporter, "You can't preach family on screen and forget it off screen." That line hit deep. When The Godfather Part 3 premiered without him, critics instantly felt the void. With Duvall gone, wrote the Chicago Tribune, The Godfather lost its moral compass. The 2 legends never patched things up. At the 2011 Oscars reunion, they stood just a few feet apart. No smiles, no nods, nothing. 2 icons frozen in history, divided by pride. Number 2, Francis Ford Coppola, the teacher who turned into a stranger. Robert Duvall didn't just lose a friend in Coppola. He lost the man who shaped his entire view of filmmaking. Their story kicked off in 1971, right in the middle of the Godfather casting chaos. Francis Ford Coppola pointed at Robert Duvall and said, "He's the Tom Hagen I've been looking for." That single moment flipped Duvall's entire career upside down. It wasn't just a casting choice. It was the start of a bond built on trust, mutual respect, and the dream of redefining cinema itself. But years later, that same man, his so-called mentor, would break his spirit in a cold boardroom with a contract that stung like betrayal. The first cracks didn't start there, though. They showed up much earlier, on the brutal set of Apocalypse Now between 1976 and 1979. During that now legendary napalm scene, Duvall collapsed from dehydration, his lips split open from the blistering heat. Coppola looked straight at him and said, "Do it again. The light isn't right." No sympathy, no hesitation. Duvall obeyed, pushing through the pain, even throwing up blood, and still finishing the shot like a soldier. Sure, the film went on to win the Palme d'Or, but Duvall's admiration for his mentor burned out right there. From that day on, he saw Coppola differently. Not as a visionary genius, but as another Brando type. Brilliant, but ruthless. Fast forward a decade to The Godfather Part 3, and whatever respect remained shattered completely. The studio came at Duvall with an insulting offer, $1 million flat, while Al Pacino was cashing $5 million plus a profit cut. Duvall refused on the spot, saying publicly, "I won't act in a film about family if that family doesn't respect each other." That line hit Hollywood like a thunderclap. Coppola tried to patch things up, sending handwritten letters and even messages through old friends, but Duvall stayed silent. What started as pure admiration turned into quiet resentment, and their creative partnership was gone for good. Number 3, Marlon Brando, the idol who became the enemy. When Robert Duvall first met Marlon Brando on The Godfather set in 1971, he thought he was meeting a living god. Duvall had studied on the waterfront and a streetcar named Desire so deeply, he knew every pause, every flicker of emotion by heart. Then Brando showed up. 2 hours late, cigarette dangling, sunglasses on, with 3 assistants trailing behind him. And just like that, the magic cracked. Brando refused rehearsals. He demanded cue cards taped all over the walls, even on other actors' backs. He changed lines mid-scene without warning, throwing the entire rhythm into chaos. Duvall, a man who lived by discipline and precision, watched what he once saw as genius turn into complete disorder. "He was the soul of the film," Duvall later said, "and the enemy of every actor inside it." That's how deep the clash ran. When Paramount secretly slipped Brando a $50,000 bonus behind closed doors, Duvall didn't say a word. He just stood up during the press event and walked out. That was the last time he ever spoke kindly of Marlon Brando. Then came the 1973 Oscars, the night everything changed. Brando shocked the world by sending an activist to reject his Best Actor trophy live on national television, and from that moment on, their paths would never cross the same way again. Half of America cheered when Marlon Brando pulled that Oscars stunt. They called it brave. But Robert Duvall saw something completely different. "He turned our work into a protest," Duvall told a close friend later. To him, Brando had crossed a sacred line, caring more about noise than meaning, more about spectacle than storytelling. From that night on, admiration curdled into contempt. When Brando passed away in 2004, Duvall didn't show up at the funeral, not even for old times' sake. Instead, he sent Francis Ford Coppola a small white card with just 3 haunting words: "Let it end." That was his full goodbye. For Duvall, the man who once inspired him had come to represent everything he despised about Hollywood: the arrogance, the chaos, the fake politics hiding behind artistic depth. Number 4, Stanley Kubrick, the so-called genius Duvall called the enemy of actors. Robert Duvall didn't just dislike Kubrick, he despised what the man stood for. During a 2010 Hollywood Reporter roundtable, Duvall stunned everyone when he flat out said, "To me, the great Stanley Kubrick was an actor's enemy." The room went silent. Ryan Gosling raised his eyebrows. Jeff Bridges gave an awkward laugh. But Duvall wasn't joking, not one bit. His criticism wasn't about jealousy or rivalry. It came from principle. Duvall believed Kubrick's obsession with endless takes, 70, 80, sometimes over 100, wasn't art. It was cruelty disguised as perfection. "How can he even tell the difference between take 1 and take 70?" Duvall once asked. Kubrick didn't direct actors, he trained them. That belief hit even harder after Duvall saw the BBC documentary, The Making of The Shining. Watching Shelley Duvall swing that baseball bat 127 times, while Kubrick coldly repeated off-camera, "Do it again," broke him. That wasn't directing, Duvall later said. That was punishment. Years before that, Kubrick had invited Duvall to discuss a role in the Aryan Papers. Curious but cautious, Duvall accepted. Yet the meeting left him chilled to the bone. Kubrick talked endlessly about lighting, rhythm, and camera movement, but not once did he mention emotion. The air in that room was colder than a morgue, Duvall recalled. So when critics later crowned Kubrick a visionary, Duvall refused to join the chorus. In an Esquire interview, he admitted he was a genius, but a genius without a heart. That one line flipped Hollywood against him. Directors stopped calling, producers kept their distance. But Duvall never took it back. He meant every word. Number 5, Robert De Niro, the Cold War between two masters. Robert Duvall and Robert De Niro never screamed at each other, never threw public shade, but anyone paying attention could feel the tension. Behind every handshake at an awards show, every polite red carpet exchange, there was an invisible war brewing. 2 legends, 2 methods, and one quiet rivalry that never truly went away. Duvall once sliced through the surface with a single razor-sharp remark. "He's good at playing Italians, very good." On paper, it sounded like a compliment, but it wasn't. Beneath that calm tone was a deep jab. Duvall's way of calling out what he saw as De Niro's obsession with disguise. He believed De Niro had turned acting into a mask, all transformations, accents, and costumes, but no real soul behind it. To Duvall, that kind of performance looked impressive, sure, but it lacked truth. It was acting as performance art, not storytelling from the heart. To outsiders, their feud was invisible, but inside the Hollywood circle, everyone knew. Whenever Duvall's name came up, De Niro's smirk said it all. And whenever De Niro took the stage, Duvall's silence spoke louder than any headline ever could. Their quiet rivalry truly began after The Godfather Part 2. Both men had become icons of serious acting, but their paths couldn't have been more different. Robert De Niro threw himself into extremes, shaving his head for Taxi Driver, packing on 60 pounds for Raging Bull, while Robert Duvall built his characters out of stillness, silence, and total control. "The work isn't in the weight gain," Duvall once said, "it's in the silence." That quote hit Hollywood like a dart, widely seen as a slick jab at De Niro's method madness. While everyone else worshipped De Niro's transformations, Duvall saw something else: vanity. To him, De Niro was living proof that obsession could be mistaken for depth. He even warned younger actors that blind devotion to the method could trap them in caricatures of their own performances. "If you chase the mask too long," he once told an acting class, "you forget the face underneath." Years later, when De Niro started popping up in comedies like Meet the Parents and Analyze This, Duvall reportedly muttered under his breath, "There's the mask cracking." Sharp words, but De Niro stayed cool. "Bob's a serious actor," he once said calmly. "We just have different energies." That was the polite, camera-friendly version. But behind the scenes, they kept their distance for decades. Their rivalry never exploded publicly, but it lingered. Two titans circling each other in silence, knowing they'd never share the same artistic ground again. Number 6. Bruce Beresford, the Oscar that left a scar. Robert Duvall's first and only Oscar came from working with director Bruce Beresford, and he's reportedly resented the man ever since. The film was Tender Mercies, 1983, a quiet, soulful story about a washed-up country singer searching for redemption. On paper, it looked like a career milestone, but behind the camera, it became one of Duvall's most bitter experiences. Filming in the Texas heat, Beresford demanded endless retakes, constantly trying to fix Duvall's rhythm. After take, Duvall finally snapped. "A drunk man never speaks slowly," he barked, refusing to repeat the scene again. Beresford stood his ground, but Duvall had already made up his mind. At dawn one morning, without the director's permission, he shot one of the film's most powerful moments himself, the church performance scene. It was raw, stripped down, and brutally honest, exactly what he believed the movie was missing. When Tender Mercies premiered, the Academy loved it. The critics praised the authenticity, and Duvall walked away with the Oscar for Best Actor. The world celebrated him, but inside, that golden statue didn't feel like victory. It felt like rebellion. When Tender Mercies went on to win 2 Oscars, including Best Actor for Robert Duvall, the night should have been a dream come true, but instead of joy, it turned into one of the coldest acts of quiet rebellion in Academy history. As Duvall walked up to the stage, the crowd cheered, expecting a warm, emotional speech. He thanked the writer, the crew, even the audience, but never once mentioned Bruce Beresford's name. Not a word. The entire room froze. Cameras zoomed in, catching those tight Hollywood smiles and that awkward, stunned silence that no one could hide. By morning, the Hollywood Reporter plastered the headline across its front page: "Duvall ignores Beresford at the Oscars." It was the talk of the town. When asked about it later, Beresford told the Sydney Morning Herald, "I respect him, but we can never work together again." Duvall didn't flinch, didn't apologize, didn't explain. Years later, on Inside the Actor's Studio, when a student asked him why, he calmly replied, "Sometimes you have to choose loyalty, to the character or to someone else." That was it. No regret, no backpedaling. The two men never spoke again. After that, Duvall moved on to write and direct The Apostle, a film critics hailed as his most personal and fearless work ever. It was proof he no longer needed anyone else to shape his emotions. He could command them himself. Meanwhile, Beresford carried on quietly, moving from one film to the next, never quite shaking the shadow of Tender Mercies. Because every time the movie was mentioned, critics always remembered the silence, that unforgettable Oscar moment when gratitude turned into defiance and friendship gave way to principle. Robert Duvall's life in Hollywood was a story of contradictions: calm mastery versus a chaotic industry built on ego and spectacle. For over 6 decades, he stood as the definition of quiet power. His performances carried weight without effort, and his mere presence drew attention without ever demanding it. But beneath that composed surface lived a man who remembered everything: He never forgot a slight, never overlooked betrayal, never dismissed the moments when talent was twisted into a weapon instead of a gift. Now, at 94, Duvall finally decided to break his silence, and what he revealed sent tremors through the film world. He named 6 people, 6 giants, who had once been his heroes, but, in his eyes, had become his enemies. The first name on that private blacklist? Al Pacino. That one cut the deepest. Their friendship had once burned brighter than any Hollywood story. In the early 1970s, they weren't just co-stars, they were brothers. They shared an apartment in Beverly Glen, splitting rent, canned soup, and dreams of stardom. They trusted each other completely, a bond built on struggle, loyalty, and shared ambition. But by the time The Godfather Part 3 rolled around, that bond had gone ice cold. The silence between them spoke louder than any argument ever could. When Paramount sent out the contracts, the truth was right there in black and white. Pacino, $5 million plus 5% of the profits. Duvall, a flat $1 million, no extras, no respect. The message was brutal and clear. One man mattered more. Duvall, always composed, didn't cause a scene. He quietly folded the papers, stood up, and walked out. Hours later, a fax landed on Francis Ford Coppola's desk. Just one chilling line. "I won't return just to be someone's backdrop." That single sentence ended a 20-year brotherhood and reminded Hollywood that even the calmest man in the room could shake an empire when pushed too far. 20 years of friendship, now reduced to just 4 brutal words on a faxed piece of paper. That was how it ended for Robert Duvall and Al Pacino. The fallout hit hard. Duvall retreated from Hollywood's glittering circus to the quiet calm of his Virginia farm, far away from the noise and egos that had begun to choke the art he once loved. While Pacino became the public face of ambition and chaos, a larger-than-life legend whose every move made headlines, Duvall chased something purer. He sought roles that felt real, honest, and free from the suffocating politics and vanity of Hollywood. He wanted to create on his own terms. No games, no deals, just truth on screen. The studio tried to mend the rift, but nothing worked. Pacino refused to lower his salary, and Duvall refused to bend his principles. The standoff was total. Years later, Duvall reflected on the whole ordeal, saying, "You can't preach family on screen and forget it off screen." Simple words, but heavy with meaning. That one line showed the moral clarity that guided him through everything. Loyalty to the work and the story, above all else. Next on his list, Francis Ford Coppola, the teacher who became a stranger. Coppola had once been the man who changed Duvall's entire life. During the Godfather casting, he pointed at Duvall and declared, "He's the Tom Hagen I've been looking for." That single moment rewrote Duvall's destiny, launching him into cinematic immortality. But brilliance couldn't hide the cracks that would later split their bond apart. During the grueling shoot of Apocalypse Now, between the burning heat and endless retakes, things took a dark turn. In the legendary napalm scene, Duvall collapsed from dehydration. His lips split open, his body breaking down. Coppola's response was cold, almost mechanical. "Do it again. The light isn't right." Duvall obeyed. He pushed through the pain, even throwing up blood, but he finished the scene. Pure professionalism under fire. Yet something inside him shifted that day. The man he once saw as a mentor now looked like a machine. Brilliant, but merciless. A decade later, when The Godfather Part 3 came around, the final break happened. The studio's insulting contract offer, just a fraction of Pacino's massive deal, felt like betrayal. And in Duvall's eyes, Coppola's quiet acceptance of it sealed the wound. The teacher he'd once worshipped had stood by while the system disrespected him. Years later, when asked about it on Inside the Actor's Studio, Duvall repeated his creed. "Sometimes you have to choose loyalty to the character or to someone else." By then, the student had become the judge, and his judgment was final. What began as deep admiration had hardened into pure contempt. Then came number 3, Marlon Brando, the idol who became the disappointment. When Duvall first met Brando on the set of The Godfather, he felt like he was meeting a god in human form. He'd studied every second of On the Waterfront and A Streetcar Named Desire, memorizing every pause, every twitch, every spark of emotion. But the moment Brando showed up, the illusion cracked. He arrived late, sunglasses on, cigarette in hand, assistants trailing behind him like an entourage. He skipped rehearsals, refused to memorize his lines, and demanded cue cards plastered on the walls, even on the backs of other actors. Duvall watched in disbelief as chaos paraded itself as genius. The discipline he lived by clashed head-on with Brando's reckless brilliance. That meeting changed everything. The moment Duvall stopped worshiping idols and started seeing the truth behind the legends. Marlon Brando's chaos didn't stop at being late or skipping rehearsals. He changed lines without warning, throwing every scene into confusion. Robert Duvall, a man who lived by discipline and precision, watched in disbelief as Brando's wild behavior was hailed as genius. To Duvall, it wasn't brilliance, it was cruelty hiding behind charisma. Then came the final straw. Paramount secretly slipped Brando a $50,000 bonus during a press event, a quiet insult that said everything about who the studio valued more. Duvall's composure finally cracked. He didn't make a scene or throw a fit, he just stood up, walked out, and never looked back. That was the end of the admiration, the day the idol fell. The fourth name, Stanley Kubrick, was a different kind of battle altogether. Duvall didn't hate Kubrick as a man, but as a director, he found his style nearly unbearable. To him, Kubrick's cold precision came at too high a cost. During a 2010 Hollywood Reporter roundtable, Duvall stunned the entire panel when he flatly said, "To me, the great Stanley Kubrick was an actor's enemy. I can point to movies he's done, the worst performances I've ever seen." The room went silent. Nobody could believe what they just heard. This wasn't bitterness or jealousy, it was outrage. Duvall saw Kubrick's obsession with control and endless retakes as cruelty dressed up as perfectionism. 70 takes, 80, sometimes over 100. It wasn't directing, it was emotional exhaustion on film. And nothing illustrated it more than the behind-the-scenes footage of The Shining. Watching Shelley Duvall, no relation, forced to swing a baseball bat 127 times while Kubrick's cold voice repeated off-camera, "Do it again," broke Robert's heart. That wasn't directing, he later said, that was punishment. Even meetings with Kubrick were icy. When the director invited him to discuss a role for the Aryan Papers, Duvall was curious but cautious. Yet the conversation was all about lenses, lighting, and shot rhythm. Not one word about emotion or character. The air in that room was colder than a morgue, Duvall later recalled. He admitted Kubrick was a genius, yes, but a genius without a heart. And for Duvall, that kind of brilliance was hollow. Vision means nothing if you crush the people who bring it to life. Then came number 5, Robert De Niro, the rival who fought in silence. Their feud wasn't loud or public, but anyone who knew the business could feel the frost between them. On the surface, they were polite, handshakes, smiles, respect. But underneath, there was tension that never faded. It all boiled down to philosophy. Duvall valued stillness, truth, and control, the art of saying more with less. De Niro, meanwhile, was the high priest of transformation, losing weight, gaining weight, changing his walk, his accent, his entire identity. So when Duvall once said, "He's good at playing Italians, very good," everyone heard the edge beneath the words. It sounded like praise, but it was really a critique, a calm shot fired at the method madness De Niro was known for. To Duvall, the soul of acting didn't live in accents or body changes. It lived in the silence between lines, the pauses, the truth you don't have to say. Where De Niro reached outward, Duvall reached inward. And over the decades, that quiet difference built into a private Cold War, one made not of words, but of principle. They kept their distance, two acting legends circling the same orbit, but never colliding. At award shows, Robert Duvall and Robert De Niro exchanged polite smiles, shook hands for the cameras, and kept it moving. But behind those calm facades lingered decades of quiet tension. Two giants, both respected, both powerful, but forever wary of each other's shadow. And then came the final name, Bruce Beresford, the man behind Duvall's only Oscar-winning performance in Tender Mercies. What should have been a golden moment, a crowning achievement in a legendary career, turned into a wound that never healed. During filming, Beresford pushed Duvall through endless retakes, trying to fix his rhythm, forcing adjustments that felt more like interference than direction. Duvall, known for his patience, finally reached a breaking point. So, in a quiet act of rebellion, he took matters into his own hands. At dawn one morning, without Beresford's knowledge, he secretly filmed the church performance. Raw, unfiltered, and honest. That moment captured the true heart of his character. No filters, no manipulation, just truth. When Oscar night arrived, Duvall won Best Actor. The crowd roared and cameras flashed. He took the stage with grace, thanked the screenwriter, the crew, the audience, everyone. But not Bruce Beresford. Not one mention. The silence hit like thunder. The next morning, The Hollywood Reporter splashed the headline across its front page. Duvall ignores Beresford at the Oscars. That single, calculated omission sealed their fate forever. Whatever friendship or professional respect once existed, gone in a heartbeat. But in revealing these stories, Duvall wasn't just airing old grudges or stirring drama. He was laying out a philosophy. To him, acting wasn't about fame or flair. It was about discipline, integrity, and loyalty to the truth of the character. He saw filmmaking as a delicate ecosystem, one that collapsed the moment ego took control. Ego that overshadowed collaboration, destructive. Brilliance without humanity, dangerous. Method that traded truth for spectacle, hollow. The 6 names on Duvall's personal blacklist weren't enemies in the usual sense. They were symbols. Each one represented a part of Hollywood he refused to bow to. The illusion, the vanity, the noise. And yet, beneath all the bitterness, there was clarity, even peace. Duvall's life wasn't defined by his conflicts. It was shaped by his unshakable commitment to craft. He stepped back when the noise got too loud, fought silently when it mattered, and let his work do the talking. From The Godfather to Tender Mercies to The Apostle, his performances became proof that discipline, silence, and authenticity could outlast Hollywood's obsession with chaos and spectacle. Every feud, every slight, every heartbreak became part of the foundation of his legacy, the scaffolding that built one of cinema's most enduring figures. A man who never compromised on principle, even when it cost him friendships, mentors, and idols. Robert Duvall reminded the world that Hollywood's golden glow often hides deep cracks beneath the surface. Even the greatest actors and directors, the icons we worship, are human and sometimes dangerously so. In the end, his blacklist wasn't just about resentment or revenge. It was about memory, judgment, and the quiet courage it takes to protect the soul of one's art. Duvall built his entire career on silence, observation, and control. And by naming those 6 figures, he stripped away the shine of fame and revealed what truly lies behind it. The human cost of brilliance and the strength it takes to stay honest when the whole world tempts you to fake it. His life was a series of contradictions. Friendship and betrayal, admiration and contempt, devotion and defiance. He faced the disloyalty of friends, the egos of legends, and the manipulations of directors, yet he never bowed. He endured every test, not with rage, but with discipline, focus, and an unshakable sense of who he was. Duvall's legacy isn't just in the unforgettable roles, not just in The Godfather, Tender Mercies, or The Apostle. It's in how he carried himself in an industry that often rewards vanity over virtue. He navigated that glittering chaos with quiet, relentless integrity. By naming Pacino, Coppola, Brando, Kubrick, De Niro, and Beresford, Duvall didn't start a war. He revealed a truth few dare to say out loud: respect must be earned. Collaboration can't be faked, and no amount of genius excuses cruelty in the name of art. For generations of actors, directors, and audiences, Robert Duvall stands as an example, not just of what it means to act with power and depth, but of what it means to live with principle. He remembered every slight, every betrayal, every fracture in those relationships that shaped his life. But he carried that memory not as bitterness, but as clarity. He understood something simple yet timeless. In both art and life, integrity is the only thing worth defending. And now, as the sun sets on a career spanning over 6 decades, the image of Robert Duvall remains unshaken, quiet, composed, unyielding. A man who loved his craft more than he loved the applause, who valued truth more than comfort, and who proved that even in a world full of flashing lights and fragile egos, the brightest glow always comes from discipline, courage, and the unwavering pursuit of authenticity. If you enjoyed this story and want more deep dives into Hollywood's hidden truths, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video.